So the logo isn't the only thing in the branding study, but it is surely one of the most important things. So we take a lot of time and attention in crafting the logo for the company. We started the same way for Holliston like we do for all of our companies, by hand. We started all of our ideas on paper and started to investigate who Holliston was and how they wanted to show themselves off to the new public. We go through these hand sketches for a solid day or two, sometimes longer, and we start to get ideas about mark and what that single unifying symbol might be. We move on to typography. It's a big part of my background. I taught typography at New England Tech, and it was a major part of my MFA studies at Savannah College of Art and Design. And so understanding and knowing that an entire personality can be summed up in a typeface, because some people use word marks, just that typeface to convey the brand of a company. We think, it has so much personality on its own. We take a lot of care and precision into choosing the right typeface that's going to explain who Holliston is. And then of course we move to digital designs. So we take those hand sketches, we take that type study, and then we start to combine them together digitally. And we start to see what works, what shapes are working, how it might move in space. And we try not to think about color in the preliminary. We do everything, all the shapes in black and white, because if your brand isn't working in a single color, then it doesn't work. For Holliston, when we initially did the digital drafts of the mark, some really interesting ways that we played around with the H shape was the scene of sand falling into a pile, whether it was abstractly told through a rectangle signifying a back of a truck, or whether it was a triangle showing off the pyramid where the sand falls down into. Really interesting shapes, kind of telling the story of Holliston sand, and still using that H, which is kind of a mark that a lot of companies use their initial, but a mark that they've used in the past, and so it's familiar to them, and has that kind of bit of personality that they were lacking in their current logo. After we do the digital sketching, we start to dive into the recommendations of what we might see their brand kind of revolve around. Those past digital sketches were laying a little flat, so we started to develop the actual recommendations of where we wanted to see the brand go. We give each of these directions a name. The first one is one that they liked the best, actually, and we called it the burst. And you can see it's an arrangement of different size circles that create this abstract shape, but a beautiful burst or star shape. And in an abstract way, it's really telling what Holliston does. It takes these different size granules of sand and they arrange them into these different categories and then sell them as products for lots of different applications. So immediately it kind of tells that precision story without necessarily having to say precision. It was the team's favorite example, but we'd like to show a really great one in the beginning, but it wasn't the best one we had. The next design that we wanted to show Holliston was something we called the build, and this is an arrangement of different size granules, and not so much in this perfect shape, but a very organic shape that formed that ubiquitous H that they have used in the past. And the formation is actually hand-placed granules that I did by hand. And so when you form these smaller circles, they form this natural-looking H, or this very stern-looking H. And there's no straight edges in the entire shape. The straight edges are actually optical illusions caused by adjacent tangents. So the different size granules are being aligned so tightly that it looks like a perfect Helvetica H. And they liked it a lot, but the mark was actually starting to lose flavor when it was shrunk in small sizes, and great logos should work in small sizes. So we left it aside and said, this is a good direction. We wouldn't show anything that they couldn't use, but we thought we had something better. So we moved on to this last direction, which again was this arrangement of circles, this time symmetrical circles that are forming this H shape. It's showing that precision element without necessarily having to say it. But when we just had the circles forming this H shape, it really laid flat when you looked at it. It didn't have this kind of class or elegance to it, but it was a little dim. But kept digging at it in the design sense, and something magical happened when we put this shape into a larger circle. So we use the arrangement as a negative in a larger dark circle. We call this direction the pan because in the world of sand there is kind of one way that you sift different size granules of sand. It's through a sifting pan. And the sifting pan is a circular tool that basically has a mesh screen of different gauges, and it allows smaller size sand to sift through, and that's how you get those different classifications of sand. And this is what they did all day. And not only did this shape represent a sifting pan, but it also talked about the precision alignment of those individual sand granules, creating that company, the H shape. But also the largest circle can be seen as a single grain of sand that is stamped with the Holliston H. And it's almost signifying that not a single grain of sand leaves this place without our stamp of approval on it, saying that, this is an approved grain of sand. Is it a bit of a stretch to, say these things? Maybe, but they're all true, and they're all really deep ways of looking at how a single mark can tell the story of the precision and care and dedication that a company puts into their product. And Holliston is one of the best examples of this. They love what they do, and they're all about trying to get the best quality product in front of the people that need it the most. And we thought that the pan was a winner. They loved the burst, and it was really interesting to see how those two marks could live together through proof of concept.